Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm actually posting after a, a long time, being busy with some of the stuff that I'm working on. But here I came and I had a lot of requests from many of my subscribers and many of the people who watched my DBMS basic video, and they wanted me to put something together for SQL Server. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to post a series of SQL Server topics, SQL Server videos on my channel, and this is the first in the series. And it is going to cover mostly the whole SQL Server stuff, including the basics of SQL Server, the T-SQL stored procedures, the functions, then all other things like the BI suite, SSIS, SSAS, and SSRS. To begin with, we are going to first start with all basics of SQL Server, and then the T-SQL syntax, and things like that. So this first being in the series, let's start with basics of SQL Server. So I just wanted to let you know first that you can actually download and install SQL Server on your local machine, and it's free to use. You just go to google.com and type like SQL Express, let's say 2017 download, and then you can click on this download Microsoft SQL Server 2017 Express from official, that link, and then click on download, and then it should download the installable file to your local machine. And there are some install instructions given. Uh, you can actually down I mean run the installable the exe file that gets downloaded, and install the SQL Server. If you face any issue in installing the SQL Server, and if you want me to create, I probably will create another video just for installation purpose of SQL Express. So having said that, I already have SQL Server installed on my local machine, so I'm just going to show that to you. And this is my SQL Server instance. And when you actually start, so no let me actually start with the beginning. So when you actually install the SQL Server, and when you start the management studio, you kind of know when you start your management studio, then you actually see something like this. And as long as you installed the it's in both the modes, or even just Windows authentication mode, you should be able to see this kind of window, and then you can use your current Windows authentication credentials and say connect. So I'm just doing a single sign-on kind of thing, so it will use my Windows credentials to log into my SQL Express or my SQL Server, whatever is on my local machine. So when I connect, it should be able to connect to that instance, and once it opens, you will see this is the name of the server. Now I have um, installed it as an instance. So first is my like the name of the machine, and then there is this instance name like SQL Express. Then you will see like there is something called databases, security, server objects, replication management, and we'll actually look at each of these in the coming sections, coming chapters, coming videos. But right now, let's understand the basic environment of SQL Management Studio. So this is basically something called as SQL Management Studio, which is a tool to used as a client tool to connect to the SQL Server, and it's basically to kind of administrators to administer the databases. The developers can log in using the SQL Management Studio, write their queries, create their stored procedures, functions, and things like that. For us to start with, what I'm going to do is for our the upcoming sessions, I'm going to create one database, and maybe we can just name that database as test learning, uh, something like test learning database, and that is the database which we'll be using throughout our video sessions, whatever the rest of the videos that we are going to create. I just wanted to start with this basic step of creating a database, so when you install your own SQL Server and have your SQL Management Studio, you can actually follow the uh, same stuff. So I'm just going to name my database as test learning, and you will see, so whenever a SQL database is created, SQL Server database is created, it actually has a logical file name, and then it stores the database at a physical file location, like which is a .mdf file, and then the other one is .ldf, so transaction log is ldf file. So if you see here, like it is saying that I don't have access to this path, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually create it into C colon, and in my local directory, and then the same thing I'm going to do for the log file as well. And we'll learn what is .mdf and .ldf, or what is the data file and what is the transaction file in the coming sections. But for now, we can just go ahead and create those this database and these files in whatever directory you want. So I'm just selecting the same path for my both my mdf file as well as ldf file, that is data file and log file. And if you want, we can give a kind of test learning .mdf, and we can also give the actually our database file name is here. So let's remove this and say okay on this, and then it should create our database called test learning, right? And then if I go and look at, there is something called as test learning database. I can click on, let's say, new query, and here I should be able to write the queries and see the results. Now it's very simple. So let's to start with, I'm going to write select star from sys dot object. So sys dot object is actually a metadata table inside SQL Server, and it is going to list down all the objects that are there in my database. I just wanted to show you how you execute the query. You can either click on execute, or you can click F5, and it should show you the result that we want. I just to showcase that how do you get the tables and things like that inside database. So you see test learning tables. So there are two ways to create tables, create database tables. One is you can write your T-SQL, you can write your DDL statements, or you can simply go tables, new table. And I'm just going to show you creating one single table, just let's say ID and name, and saying it as, let's say, EMP. Now just to showcase that how do you create a table inside SQL Server using the SQL Management Studio table wizard. Normally you can actually write a DDL as well to do that. So I'm just giving a name called ID, and I'm going to give data type, let's say int, allow nulls no, and then let's say a name, and then let's say varchar 50, right? Allow nulls is fine, and I'm going to create this as a primary key, and at the same time I want to create this ID as a identity column. So what I can do is can actually go down there, you'll see something called as identity specification. Double click on this, say to yes, and then increment is 1 and the seed is 1. So whenever you are inserting a record into this table, you know this ID will get created automatically, the next number. So I'm just going to save this and give it a table name called, let's say, emp. Click on this as OK. And since we haven't specifically mentioned any schema, the table gets created as dbo.emp. Now if I go here and I say select star from dbo.emp, I should be able to see the record. So since we don't have any record inserted in the table as of yet, we don't have any records in this. So the way you can write your queries like insert into dbo.emp, and now I have two columns, right? But id is my identity column, so I'm not going to use id. Just have a name and then say values, and let's say Virendra Wadekar, right? And let's say execute this particular command insert. And now if I go and select this select star, do select, you will see id is automatically created for me. So if I go and let's say no, add another record, let's say John, I should be able to see the id getting created as 2. uh, so and select star from, so I see the two records now. And this as we have seen, id is my identity column. So this is very basic stuff. This is how you actually connect to the SQL Management Studio, create a database, create a table. And for the rest of the stuff, I think once you are able to install and create a database and actually start creating your tables, the next video I think we should be looking at the next few other basic things in SQL Server, and then we'll be starting with the rest of the stuff of the T-SQL part of it. Thank you so much for your time. Subscribe to my channel.